Hi, YouTubers. Thanks for visiting part two. Part one was probably didn't contain as much information as anybody who searched this video was looking for. But hopefully I'll have more time this time. Part two. Um, in this part, I want to talk about some of the traumas that I faced that led up to post-traumatic stress disorder. Like I mentioned in the first video, any amount of trauma collects in a person, and we're like a trauma sponge. Even the smallest traumatic events that we go through, like almost being hit by a car, or almost being in the wrong place at the wrong time, or close calls even can cause trauma, because we think about, well, what if? But in this part two, I want to talk about what has actually happened in my life. These are all traumatic events. Anyone who says this is not traumatic has not been through it before. But my dad left when I was young, and then he came back. Him coming back was almost more traumatic than him leaving the first time, because I did have to deal with my parents arguing. That is a traumatic event. Watching your dad move your sister out of her room into your room so that he doesn't sleep in the same room as your mom just kind of scars your brain. That's not something that I consider, something that I think about every day. But the whole big picture that my parents were together for about 10 years. I was the only one in school who had parents that were still together, and then all of a sudden they're separated and then divorced. His second wife was physically, mentally, and emotionally, verbally abusive to me and my sister. So it's not just me who dealt with that trauma. She went so far as to hit me in my face. I seen her hit my dad in his face, and my dad wasn't one to be abused by anyone. So that ended kind of badly. But yeah, she wouldn't cook supper for us, me and my sister. She had 2 daughters. She told my dad if he wanted us to eat, that he would cook for us. And then if he even so much as made us a sandwich for supper that night, he got to sleep on the couch. So not only were we being neglected, my dad sometimes didn't want to sleep on the couch. And when he did sleep on the couch, I felt like it was my fault. Of course, kids always blame themselves for being treated like crap. I finally had enough of it. I started running away, and of course I was dragging my sister out with me. And as soon as we would get to the end of the road that we lived on, I would say, "Don't you feel better now?" And she would say, "Yeah, I feel free." And she would come in our room at night, close the vents off so that we didn't get any heat. She had stripped our bed, all of but a pillow. We were at this point sleeping on a twin bed together, 2 teenagers, 13 and 15. I had already been hospitalized for going off because of some medication that I was on when I was 14 years old. It was actually April the 3rd, 2004. I was on medicine for depression that I'd been on for 2 years. They had diagnosed me with depression, and being on depression meds, going to the hospital after I tried to kick out a window, or I did bust out the window with my fist. And I have a little scar right here that every time I look at it, I remember that day. But that was kind of the first time that I kind of just snapped and didn't really know what I was doing. My dad and everyone else thought that I was just acting out until they saw that there was truly something wrong with me. And when I was at that hospital in a juvenile psychiatric ward at the age of 14, I was diagnosed with bipolar disorder, which was no big surprise to anyone in my family that had never told me that bipolar runs deep. My mom's mom, my granny, Geraldine, who I'm going to be speaking about a lot because she has the worst case of post-traumatic stress disorder that I've ever seen. So later on in parts of this series, I'll be speaking about my granny. But yeah, going to that psychiatric ward was traumatic. I'd never been away from my family, and was finding out that it wasn't just depression that they've been telling me for 2 years. Since the age of 12, I'd been on antidepressants, and then all of a sudden they're wanting to put me on all these new medications, and I'm in a place with these kids that are so strange, not much different from me, but I'm just out of my element completely. I'm locked up. There's no way that I can get out. I had a band around my wrist and one around my ankle that would sound every alarm in the county of Greenville if I were to try to escape that place. I was locked up, and that was a traumatic experience in itself. To find out that I had bipolar disorder, I don't like to say I am bipolar. I like to say I have bipolar disorder, because I try not to, say bipolar's got me, but that I got bipolar, which is totally just self-denial right now, because I am on no medication for the treatment of bipolar right now. And it's winter time. We actually have a lot of snow on the ground today, and here in Virginia, and it's a daily struggle. But I did act out while I was in the psychiatric ward. It was Easter Sunday, and I was only 14 years old. I'd never been away from my family on a major holiday. Well, when a nurse told me to try a little bit harder to paint the Easter egg picture that I was painting, I picked up a small metal paint can and I threw it at her. Well, it landed at her feet, and the paint splattered up and it went everywhere, and I was put in a quiet room. Things just continued to get more and more nuts as the year went through, and I would never say nuts in a derogatory way, considering that I'm nuts, but trying to stay on topic here, but this kind of vlog, I just hope that that maybe somebody can identify with me so that I can identify with them. But mostly I feel grounded in the fact that I have PTSD and bipolar disorder, and I also have multiple personality disorder. So as you watch my videos, if you want to watch my videos, some days I may be completely different. I try not to be abusive to people. I try not to use a lot of profanity, considering there are kids out there that may want to watch these videos as well. And to the kids out there that are dealing with a traumatic event that is unspoken, tell someone if you're being hurt. Tell someone. It will save you the rest of your life, the trauma of having to go through it one more time. Don't go through it again. Tell someone. Please, if you're being abused, please tell someone. I waited a long time before I told my nanny and papa about the abuse from my stepmom. And when I finally did tell them, they got me and my sister out of it. They got us out of it. And I just look back, because it wasn't until after I got out of that situation that the trauma from it, in hindsight, I see this, the trauma from it caused me to go off completely and punch a window out with my fist. I resented both my parents because they weren't around, or I couldn't have them because of some psycho woman that probably herself dealt with PTSD, because I just recently went through my first blackout with PTSD where I actually was arrested for assault. And I don't know how it's going to go in court. Not worried about it. Really not worried about it. I deal with so much pressure in here every day from things that have already happened. I can't worry about something that hasn't happened yet. And that's something that I've learned about PTSD and about myself. Worrying is not going to change the future. It's not going to change anything. It's just going to drag me down more in the present where I have a child to take care of. So if you're a worry wart like my grandmom, my granny, Geraldine, who suffers from PTSD, the worst case I've ever seen. And I've seen clinical evidence of this. I've seen soldiers. The snow is melting. Well, we'll get out there soon. Yeah, we'll be able to play in the snow. Yeah. We'll be able to play in just a few minutes. We'll get y'all dressed up and go play in the snow. But as of now, it's I have duties, and I will be talking more later on about how my stepmom and the things I went through in the second marriage affected me, and how my hospital visits and things like that over the years affected me. The seizures, the PNES seizures, every one of those seizures is another traumatic event, which in turn adds to the post-traumatic stress disorder. And having to deal with another person with post-traumatic stress disorder also adds to my trauma. But I try to be strong when it comes to my granny, because she has been through things that maybe not even a soldier would imagine. No disrespect. We'll be talking soon. Thanks for watching.